yeah, for government team to Celine, and then opposition to Nicholas. So please complete after the debate. Darren, can you check who are not with us?
Sorry, Mister.
Yeah, can you check who are not with us now? Which number not with us? Ini Keegan masuk. Leticia?
Number 24, 25, and 31.
Okay, Sebastian. Thank you.
Okay, Mister.
Okay. Moderator, are you ready?
Yes, Mister.
Okay. Evelyn, you may start to record. So Cecilia, yeah? Cecilia, Evelyn, you may start to record, and then moderator can start.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, Mr. Danny, adjudicators, government team, opposition team, and all audiences. My name is Evelyn Saputra, and I'm going to be today's debate moderator. First of all, let me introduce the member of both teams. On the government team, there is Darren as the first speaker, Celine as the second speaker, Nathen as the third speaker, and Brenda as the fourth speaker. On the opposition team, there is Sharon as the first speaker, Nicho as the second speaker, Celine Purnama as the third speaker, and Keegan as the fourth speaker. The topic for today's debate is shorter school hours for children's well-being. We've all experienced longer and shorter school hours recently. And some of us might say that longer school hours are rather ineffective, while others say that shorter school hours are more beneficial. Still, we should not forget about the drawbacks of both of them. Therefore, in this debate, both teams will state their opinions and arguments about whether shorter school hours should be implemented for children's well-being. Now, let's start the debate. For the government team's first speaker, please proceed.
Thank you, moderator. First of all, we want to thank you for the opportunity given to us to speak as the government team today. Now, we as the government team strongly believe that shorter school hours is more beneficial for children's well-being. But before we come to our argument, let us settle some important terms in this debate. We believe that what is meant by children is students ranging from around 14 years old to 18 years old. Also, we believe what is meant by well-being, according to APA Dictionary of Psychology, is defined as a state of happiness and contentment with low levels of distress overall good physical and mental health and outlook or good quality of life. Now, I will present the team line for our team. We as the proposition team have structured our cases as follows. I, as the first speaker, will give the definition of the motion and state my argument on why we believe that shorter school hours is more beneficial for students' well-being. Our second speaker, Celine, will rebut the first speaker from the opposition team, explain furthermore about our argument, and give any POI if necessary. Our third speaker, Nathen, will also do rebuttal, give POI if necessary, and give our argument and also some example that is related to the case. And lastly, our fourth speaker, Brenda, will give a conclusion and restate all the summary of our arguments. Now that I've presented our team line, let me come to our first argument. Time for rest. Longer school days could result in attention deficit and fatigue, making the extra class time ineffective. When students are too tired or mentally exhausted to concentrate, the last hour of the day becomes useless. Some students, even as old as 8th graders, suffer from post-lunch attention deficit syndrome and are not mentally prepared to take on an additional hour of classwork. Reports by 8th grade teacher Ron Whiteholm on Philadelphia's education website, thenotebook.org. Young students might feel fatigue or fall asleep during class time if they are too tired to concentrate or perform. This indicates that studying past the suggested period of time is considered as overworking and could result in not just reduced physical capabilities, but also mentally. The stress of overstudying can show real physical signs like headaches or digestive issues and can lead to long-term health issues. Physical health concerns can be a sign of advanced stress from overstudying. If the concerns causing them continue, it can lead to long-term physical and mental issues. That's it for my argument. I give it back to moderator.
Thank you, government team's first speaker. And now let's continue the opposition team's first speaker.
First of all, thank you to the moderator and the government team, and good morning to the teachers, the affirmative team, as well as our fellow classmates. Today's topic of debate is on school hours, whether longer hours provide students a better learning environment or not. We agree with the definition given by the affirmative team, as the students are supposed to enjoy a stress-free education. However, it is generally believed that the Indonesian system is long enough compared to other countries when, according to our resources, school hours in Indonesia are 700 hours less per year than those in the OECD countries, or the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development countries, where most of its members have high-income economies and prosperity. Take China, for instance. As we all know, China is one of the most progressive countries in terms of economic and business development, with an education system that offers children many opportunities to thrive in the future. China's education system has an average 9-hour school day for 5 days a week, which sets the benchmark for other countries. Moving this house, the opposition team therefore believes that shorter school hours is more beneficial to students. Moving along, our second speaker will talk about a studying method which justifies a full-day schooling system as beneficial to the students' brain development and comprehension of school materials. Not only that, there will also be an explanation on how social interactions are more frequent when the hours spent in school settings are longer, thus creating a conducive learning experience for students to explore their interests as well as capabilities, both academically and socially. On the other hand, the third speaker will give an illustration on how students can make the most of their time in school to learn and catch up, rather than do other frivolous activities at home while procrastinating their given assignments. This leads to a lighter workload for students. Our fourth speaker will then close the debate. We state our position as the opposition team and support our stance to lengthen school hours and consideration of students' overall performance with this condition. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition team's first speaker. Now, to the government team's second speaker, the time is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Now I will rebut several arguments posed by the opposition team. they mentioned that time spent in school equals higher academic standing. But this statement is not true. Quantity does not always equal quality. And is, according to data collected by Fox News, students in the US have more instructional hours in school compared to those in Asia. However, Asian students consistently outperform US students on math and science tests. Moreover, the opposition team also mentioned China as a specific example of a leading country in education. However, Chinese students have been known to suffer from lots of stress, and also suicidal rates in students in China is very, very high when compared to other countries. So this does not always mean that longer school hours equals a higher academic standing. Now, each year consists of roughly 6,000 hours, and the average student spends 1,000 minutes in school. This concerning statistic does not even include time allocated for schoolwork, such as homework or projects. Due to varying amounts of school-related activities, actual time may double or even triple the figure, which relegates the time spent by students in school to a third or even half of their entire year. Enough is enough. With the reduction in school hours, students are able to engage in competitions such as science Olympiads, debate competitions, or essay writing competitions, or even organizations such as student council or non-government organizations. Now, these competitions and organizations train a student's soft skills, which according to the Oxford reference, is competencies associated with emotional intelligence quotients. Soft skills are skills relevant to day-to-day, university, and later work life, and is unattainable through textbook learning conducted in most classrooms. However, it is ever present in these competitions and organizations. Take, for example, through an essay writing competition, you're able to communicate ideas through writing effectively. Through student council, you learn the value of teamwork as well as dealing with pressing deadlines. Now, with soft skills checked off the list, students can also develop their hard skills outside of the classroom through courses such as cooking courses or programming courses. These courses help students figure out what they are suited for best and also aid as a stepping stone towards choosing a university major. In short, students are able to pick up useful skills in various avenues of learning outside of school. In conclusion, the government team strongly believes that reduced school hours is more beneficial because students are able to explore individual passions with their extra time, and thus the motion shall stand. Thank you.
Thank you, government team's second speaker. Now let's continue to opposition team's second speaker. The time is yours.
Thank you, moderator and the affirmative team. As the second speaker of this team, I'm going to present our argument, but also refute the opposite team's argument. In your previous argument, you stated that longer school hours doesn't necessarily quantitate to better learning, but in the data that we found, which we collected from an article by Christopher Gabrielli and Warren Goldstein, they found that in a study where 2 hours of learning time were added to various levels in schools, in 10 high schools, they not only improved their own performance, but did it faster than other schools which didn't increase their school hours. Now, the way we learn is mostly by repetition, using numerous assignments that could make us remember better remember the subjects. By increasing school hours, it will also increase the amount of time available to be used for those aforementioned repetitions, which will be useful in today's curriculum, where math and other science-related subjects take up a large percentage of our weekly school hours. Now, this is important because mastering those subjects requires a great deal of repetition. Now, this study, the study I mentioned before, also showed a considerable amount of improvement with those subjects, with overall grades increasing by 44% in math and 90% in science compared to the results taken years prior. Overall, increasing school hours, thus the instructional time, is quite an effective method that can increase students' academic achievements, as shown by papers analyzing the correlations between longer school hours and student test scores, using data taken from the PISA, or Program for International Student Assessment. That's where the impact of longer schools is even greater for developing countries like Indonesia. The second point I want to make is that longer school hours will also result in more time to socially interact with other students, which will result in a greater bonding and allow for the development of stronger relationships with others, higher overall motivation and engagement to learn, and leads to a warmer, richer, and more approachable learning environment, as mentioned in a study conducted in 2018 on the topic of more approachable, on the topic of social presence and learning outcome. Now, in a study conducted on the same topic, it is shown that more social interaction in class has the potential to also increase students' performance, which also adds to my previous argument. The stronger relationship within the class will have the potential to increase the motivation and overall mood of the class and better students' overall mental health. Now, on the topic of well-being, this is important because our mental health will also have the effect on the students' physical health, which is backed up by research affecting poor mental health, such as depression and stress has our body, from sleep disorder to even chronic illness. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition team, second speaker. Now let's continue to government team's third speaker. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Now I will rebut several arguments posed by the opposing team. So the opposing team mentioned about numerous assignments will help students their well-being, and more school hours will lead to more repetition and mastering of school subjects. But this is false because of its ineffectiveness. Shorter school hours gives more time and more flexibility for students to socially develop their own selves from a wide perspective. And if you would say that longer hours will help in their mental health, then it is obviously false. And then again, in the end, if we all see it again from a logical point of view, a longer school day will lead to, well, more money. Not only would the teachers and staff need to be compensated by working extra hours, but more money would be needed to maintain the school buildings. Adding extra hours, extra time to the school day will require more funding to cover higher teacher salaries, textbooks, and other concerning resources. Citizens will have to pay higher property taxes to cover the increased costs at public schools. Private schools, however, will be obviously forced to raise tuition fees. There's a saying like my teammates said, it's important not to confuse quantity over quality. In this case, which is the certain motion for this debate, improving the quality of education for all students from all economic backgrounds is way more crucial rather than making your average school day longer. A New York Times article states that in Chicago, about $10 million was spent in 2011 for 50 public schools just to lengthen their days. Schools received up to $150,000 just to compensate employees for their extra time. The total projected cost for all schools in the district to move to extended time was $84 million in total. Other studies show that for just a 10% increase in time, schools will need to increase their budgets up to 6 to even 7%. But this does not include additional money needed for like electricity, maintenance, and other utilities costs, which can be more difficult to predict and estimate. So if only these school hours could be shortened, there will be some major financial savings to the school district. Teachers like Mr. Denny himself would work fewer hours. The utilities such as heating, air conditioning, electricity of all the actual school buildings would be used fewer hours, and it will definitely contribute to the savings. So this is why we suggest that shorter school hours will certainly be beneficial, not only for a child's education, but also from an economic perspective. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, government team's third speaker. Now for the opposition team's third speaker, the floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator, for the opportunity, and thank you to the government team. As the third speaker, I will give more arguments and also refute arguments from the government team. The government team stated that shorter school hours are more effective than longer school hours in various aspects, such as less money to cover the cost of the school and not to confuse quantity over quality. But our team think otherwise. There are more benefits that we can get with longer school hours, which lead us to our next argument that longer school hours means more time to finish activities in session. By having longer school hours, the teaching and learning process is less likely to be interrupted with time limitations. If there is less school time, learning will most likely be rushed because they have to catch up with the material. And this can lead to difficulties for students in understanding the material provided. Some students also choose to overcome this by taking additional courses, which is more tiring because they have to double their efforts at school and courses. And also to rebuke the government team, these additional courses will cost parents more money spent on their child's educational. Moving along, our next argument is that longer school hours can reduce the amount of homework given to students. Many teachers gave homework to their students at the end of the day or the week as a way to supplement the learning process. By extending the length of a school day, it would make it possible to reduce or eliminate the amount of homework that is sent to students. Doing more work in a structured environment built for working in, where students can get help with their work from teachers and friends. PI accepted.
Right. So the opposition team mentioned earlier that longer school hours would not require students to attend courses outside of school, which may lead to additional fees for parents and exhaust students as well. Now, with this same logic, longer courses with a longer duration. So you do agree that a longer duration is harmful for students?
No, because longer school hours mean the work is done at school and they understand more at school, so they don't need to take additional lessons. Because if you choose shorter school hours, you can understand less about the lessons, and it affects your test results and your master in the lesson provided. And so back on me, thank you.
Thank you, opposition team's third speaker. We'll now move on to closing statements by the fourth speaker. For the government team's fourth speaker, please proceed.
Thank you, Moderator. As we know that education is one of the elements that influence a person's ability to think critically, selectively, creatively, and to be valuable for others. Given the importance of education in the development of our country, we must enhance the educational system to raise children's success not only in academics but also in non-academics areas such as soft skills and hard skills. We feel that shorter school days might provide additional benefits to kids in their learning process. For starters, because shorter school days entail fewer instructional procedures, assignments, and examination, not only kids but also teachers can preserve their physical and mental health. Students and teachers can get enough sleep to prepare for the following day. Furthermore, good physical and mental abilities will allow them to maintain their effectiveness in doing tasks. When students and teachers' physical and emotional health are in harmony, they can help each other to grow. Second, students have more time to pursue their interests. Due to the lengthy hours of schools, kids do not always have the time to do what they want because there is too much homework to accomplish. Students can pursue their interests or passion, complete and engage in organization with fewer school hours. Participating in competitions or organizations can help kids develop their communication and leadership skills. Students might make new acquaintances, which broadens their network. Finally, parents may save money since building, textbook, power, and services are only utilized for a limited time. Parents can use their money for something else outside school, for instance, music lessons, public speaking class, and so on. Teachers do not need to teach as much in school since the learning process is quicker and students have less time for field trips, resulting in reduced teacher salaries and school fees. Hence, the shortening of time spent for the school will result in enormous advantage for education, including everyone who pursues one unrelated associates. Thank you.
Thank you, government team's fourth speaker. For the opposition team's fourth speaker, please state your closing statement.
Thank you, Moderator. As the last speaker in this debate, I would like to conclude this debate and restate our arguments to the motion that shorter school hours are more beneficial to children's well-being. Based on the argument that have been presented, we stand strongly that longer school hours are more beneficial to the status quo. The disadvantages of shorter school hours outweighs the advantage with proof that have been stated before. We agree that shorter school hours could be beneficial for students' mental health. However, we believe that more money budgeted for more school hours, as mentioned before, won't affect children's well-being. Furthermore, high stress due to school scores and the amount of homework being given are a serious problem to be considered. To make matters worse, this way or shorter school hours could not be realized by remembering the status quo where students depend on learning through repetition, which takes more time. We want to underline and restate three main points in our arguments. First, longer school hours will boost student score with the evidence stated before. Therefore, students will not be stressed about their score to further their study. Second, mental health is a serious problem among students. This could be reduced through social interaction with friends that longer school hours could give. Last but not least, longer school hours will decrease the amount of homework being given, thus increasing the amount of time that students could use to explore themselves or doing whatever they love to relieve their stress. From that, with exhaustive consideration, again, we believe that longer school hours will be more beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition team's fourth speaker. We have reached the end of this debate. At this point, I would like to thank everyone who have participated as speakers, adjudicators, time manager, Zoom manager, and audiences. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Yeah, thank you so much, moderator and government and also opposition team. Let's give applause for our friends. Very good. Yeah, so while the government and also the opposition team completing their worksheet, yeah, the educators will go to the breakout.
Tes.
Halo Loy, di Hayin sama Della.
Apa?
Halo, Aloy, say hi.
Hai.
Hi, sir.
Hai, Mister.
Yeah, hello. Okay, so let's count the total score, yeah, for each.
I haven't filled all the scores.
Yeah.
I'm masih confused, Mister.
Confused about?
Yeah, about kayak how am I supposed to score them? Kayak, maksudnya these two teams kayak significantly different, like from the presentation juga. The affirmative team has like more spirit compared to
yeah.
Team.
Yeah.
And then for the scoring, I'm confused. Whom am I supposed to put the standard in? Like, am I supposed to take Celine as the standard? That makes the other members kayak nilai jadi jelek kan. So I confused there.
Yeah. So yang pertama tentang time dulu ya, time. So if around 2 until 3 minutes, they got the full score 10 points. Ya. Less than 2 minutes itu tadi 6 points. And then more than 3 minutes 8 points. Itu dari time. Kemudian yang meter tadi tentang argumentnya, the argument, and then is it make sense the data also, ya. Manner ini baru how they deliver the argument. Juga termasuk di ininya apa? Performance videonya ya. Mungkin ada yang setengah nggak kelihatan semua, itu juga masuk di manner. Kemudian method tadi apakah ada example and also the data that is stated. Kalau Apa ya? Based on Celine gitu. Ya, Celine apanya Celine dulu ya? Meternya Celine atau mannernya atau metodenya gitu ya.
I think overall presence juga Celine is the best semester.
Yeah, boleh.
I want to ask Mr. What is
Hmm.
about the pronunciation or the way
Yeah.
she talk? Is it included in manner, or method?
Manner.
Oh, manner.
Yeah. How they, yeah.
Okay. Then I want to ask again. Is it should we count the total negative
Yeah.
team time, manner total, manner method total?
Oh, no. Just the total for each student with each speaker, yeah. And then the total score for the total speakers, ya, the total group score gitu. Totalnya aja, nggak usah method, no. You don't.
Okay, Mr. I'm done with the formative team 1 to 3.
Okay, wait. Okay, this is Bryan. So the total for the affirmative team?
For the affirmative team, 342.
342. The contra?
The contra, 334.
34. Okay.